So we need to do an exhaust inspection. A couple of things to keep in mind. One is, do it logically. In other words, start at one end and work your way to the other end. In this case I'm choosing to start at the back and I'll work my way forward, although of course you could start forward and work your way back. Don't forget, under the bonnet's important too, we need to check around the manifolds. The other thing that's important is to incorporate into a normal service so that you're not doing it remote from there. This makes it more cost effective and time effective. If you're doing a service and checking your tyres and shockers, etc., that would be the time to check the back end of the exhaust. As you move forward, to check the emission lines, perhaps brake lines that extend across the length of the vehicle, fuel lines, etc., then you check the rest of the exhaust progressively. So we're starting at the back. On this particular exhaust system, it doesn't have a separate tailpipe. The tailpipe is built into the muffler. If we look closely at it, however, you'll see that there are two holes already right at the weld join where the tailpipe and the muffler meet. Now you'd need to check the strength of that. It is possible that it could be welded just to fill the holes as a temporary measure. At the same time, it could be that the metal around there is weak, in which case there's no way of welding and you'd need to replace it. Looking at the bigger picture of this rear muffler, you'll notice that it's already had some repairs. The little yellow dots here, here and here, they are repairs that have been done before by brazing. Now looking beyond that, there are now more holes that have accumulated over time. Perhaps it's time that this muffler was replaced because they're only going to get worse. Remembering part of the exhaust output is vapour, or water if you like, and because water sits in these exhaust systems for long periods of time, they will rust out. That's why stainless steel mufflers, although expensive, do have benefits. The fact is, over time they will deteriorate. Okay, so we've checked the tailpipe, we've noticed some holes, and we've checked the muffler. Along the length of the vehicle, check all the supports and make sure that they're good. Okay, we generally have rubber type insulators which insulate heat, but also support the exhaust so it's not a hard mounting onto the body of the vehicle. Alright, so grab hold of the component, give it a rattle, make sure it moves flexibly and doesn't hit up against the body of the vehicle. Make sure the rubbers are in good condition, which, although hard for you to see, I can see up through between the back of the body and the muffler. Okay, moving forward, we've got the pipe that goes over the rear cross member and into the muffler. That appears to be in good condition. On this type of exhaust, we've got a flange that allows the middle pipe to go onto the muffler. Some vehicles might have a pipe over pipe with a U-bolt type clamp arrangement. We need to make sure they're in good condition. In this case they need to be secure, and if you have a look around the surface of the flange gasket, we need to make sure there are no black gas leaks. That would suggest that that there is a leak through there and the gases are escaping, which obviously isn't the ideal thing. Following along again, we've got a bit of a torpedo type muffler. Again, a couple of braze jobs in there. A mounting hanger, make sure that's in good condition, the rubber hasn't broken and the exhaust doesn't hit up against the body. Moving further on, we've got heat shields. Heat shields are insulating the interior of the vehicle from the heat of the exhaust, and also protecting perhaps ground surfaces such as grasses and things from getting excessively hot and potentially catching alight. Further up, we've got our front muffler. Okay, rubber insulators in good condition. There is no hitting against the vehicle, so that's all good to see in here. Again, more weld repairs. If the metal is strong enough, that's fine. However, if it's getting too weak to weld, then replacement is necessary. Okay, a bit further up again, we've got our catalytic converter. Now, catalytic converters work when they get hot, but at the same time they produce heat, so they have extreme heat involved with them. There have been cases of grass fires with farmers, etc., when they've run over particularly dry grasses. So for that reason, we need to make sure the heat shields are in place, and again, that it's all secure and no leaks. Another hanger up here, that's all in good condition. Towards the front of the vehicle, especially on front-wheel drive vehicles, we need some sort of flexible arrangement, because as the engine is revved and it kicks, it needs the ability to move. There's generally two ways of doing that. Some use a braided steel pipe that gives flexibility as the engine tends to move, or on other vehicles they use sort of like a ball and socket arrangement with spring mounts that allow a certain amount of pivoting. On a typical north-south or inline engine, generally it's not required because the rotation of the engine isn't causing the exhaust to stretch, it's just got a slight bit of rocking movement to it. But we do need to make sure that those flexible joints are in good condition and not leaking. Okay, following up to the front pipe, it all looks in good nick. We now have an oxygen sensor mounted at the very top of the vehicle near the flange. Keep in mind, on modern vehicles they've moved to having two oxygen sensors on the vehicle, generally one before the catalytic converter and another one afterwards. Purpose being to check the integrity of the catalytic converter and let the ECU know exactly what's happening. Alright, that appears to be sealing well. There are no problems with the wires, it's not rubbing up against the exhaust. The heat shields from this side seem to be in good nick, and there's no exhaust gas leaks around that flange. We'll now just need to check from the top for the rest of the vehicle. Now looking at the exhaust from above, we would look again to see if there's any black exhaust leaks coming from the manifold gasket. The condition of the heat shield. Now the heat shield protects other components around the engine from the heat damage that may occur. It could be starter motors or alternators, it could be wiring or water pipes, but we need to make sure all is clear. The only problem is we can't actually see what's on the other side. However, what mainly happens, it will be a cracked manifold if anything was to happen under there, and we can simply tell that by having someone else put their hand over the back of the exhaust. This causes a pressure build-up, and if there is an exhaust leak, you will be able to hear it leaking through there. Then you can remove the cover, inspect and locate the specific problem area.